I stared at my mother's text message, my hands trembling with a rage I'd never felt before. Either you help pay for the cruise, or don't bother coming home tonight. My name is Naomi, and at 28 years old, I never thought I'd be getting ultimatums about vacation funding from my own mother. But here I was, sitting in my car outside the accounting firm where I worked, trying to process this latest manipulation. The phone buzzed again. "We need your answer now. Roman already put down the deposit." Of course he did. My stepfather Roman always acted first and expected others to clean up his messes later. I took a deep breath and typed, "No, I won't do it. I'm done being your personal ATM." The response was immediate. "You ungrateful little bitch. After everything we've done for you?" I switched off my phone and drove home, my mind racing through all the everything they'd supposedly done for me. Living in their house rent-free? Sure, while working as their personal assistant, housekeeper, and apparently, their banker. The sight that greeted me when I pulled into our driveway stopped my heart. My belongings were scattered across the front porch like garbage. Clothes, books, even my childhood photo albums. "Mom!" I called out, rushing to the front door. It was locked. Through the window, I could see her watching me, arms crossed. "Mom, please, let's talk about this." I banged on the door. Roman's face appeared beside hers. "Your mother made herself clear. No cruise money, no room and board. You can't do this. I pay for half the utilities. I buy groceries. I should have thought about that before being selfish." My mother cut in, her voice muffled through the glass. "Roman works hard. He deserves this vacation." "Works hard?" I laughed incredulously. "He hasn't had a job in 3 years. I'm the one working 60-hour weeks while he day trades away your savings." Roman's face turned purple. "You ungrateful." "Save it," I snapped, turning to gather my scattered belongings. "I'm done being your cash cow." My mother's voice softened, using that manipulative tone I knew too well. "Sweetie, just help us this once. 20,000 isn't that much considering—" 20,000? I whirled around. The cruise packages I saw were 8,000 max. What aren't you telling me? They exchanged guilty looks. Roman cleared his throat. "Well, we thought while we're there, we might as well enjoy some offshore investment opportunities." "You mean gambling," I said flatly. "You want me to fund your gambling habit." "It's not gambling when you know what you're doing," Roman protested. "I have a system." "Like the system that lost Mom's retirement fund last year?" The words flew out before I could stop them. My mother's face hardened. "That's enough. You have an hour to get your things and leave. After that, anything left goes in the trash." I stood there, tears burning my eyes. "Mom, please, don't do this." But she turned away, Roman's arm around her shoulders, leaving me alone on the porch. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Mila. "Hey, you okay? Your mom's posting weird stuff on Facebook." I called her, trying to keep my voice steady as I stuffed clothes into garbage bags. "They kicked me out. Over a cruise? Can you believe it? Holy shit. Where are you going to go?" I paused, looking at my pathetic pile of belongings. I had savings, but finding an apartment would take time. Hotels were expensive. Friends all had roommates or families. There was one option, the nuclear option. "I might have to call my dad," I whispered. Mila was silent for a moment. "Daryl? But you haven't spoken to him in what, 5 years?" 4. I swallowed hard. "Mom's going to lose it when she finds out." "Good," Mila said firmly. "Let her. You need to start putting yourself first, Naomi." I looked back at the house where I'd spent most of my life, where I'd tried so hard to keep the peace, to be the good daughter. Through the window, I could see my mother and Roman celebrating with wine, probably congratulating themselves on teaching me a lesson. My fingers scrolled through my contacts, hovering over Dad. 4 years of silence stretched between us like a chasm. But right now, That chasm seemed less daunting than the betrayal behind me. I hit call before I could change my mind. It rang 3 times before his familiar voice answered. Naomi? Dad, I said, my voice cracking. I need help. You can take the guest room upstairs, my father said, carrying one of my hastily packed garbage bags. It's not much, but it's perfect, I cut in, following him up the familiar staircase of his Victorian-style home. 4 years hadn't changed much. Same creaky third step, same faded wallpaper, same family photos I'd avoided looking at during my last visit. Dad set the bag down in a room that smelled of fresh laundry and lemon furniture polish. I keep it ready, just in case. The words hung between us. Just in case I ever came back. Just in case I needed him. Just in case my mother's influence finally cracked. I'm sorry, I blurted out, for staying away so long, for believing. He held up a hand. Don't. Your mother is persuasive. I understand. I sat on the bed, running my hands over the quilted comforter. She told me you abandoned us, that you chose your new family over me. Dad leaned against the door frame, his face tight. New family? The reason you stopped fighting for custody. She said you had another daughter, that you didn't need me anymore. Jesus Christ. He pushed off the door frame and began pacing. Is that what she told you? That's why you stopped visiting? I nodded, throat tight. Naomi, I never had another child. I never stopped fighting for you. Your mother. He stopped, running a hand through his graying hair. We need coffee for this conversation. Downstairs in his kitchen, I watched him measure coffee grounds with the same precision he'd used when I was little. Some memories never fade. Your mother filed for full custody when you were 14, he said, pressing the brew button. Said I was an unfit parent because I worked too much. The judge agreed to temporary custody while they investigated. I remember the social worker visits, I said. Mom said you'd been drinking. Dad's knuckles went white around his coffee mug. I hadn't touched alcohol in 10 years. But your mother had documents, witnesses, all fabricated. I found out later. By the time I proved it, you were almost 18 and wouldn't return my calls. The coffee maker gurgled to a stop. Neither of us moved to pour it. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. Remember that weekend I showed up at your school? Your mother called the police, said I was violating the custody agreement. He finally poured 2 cups, sliding one to me. After that, my lawyer advised me to back off. Said pushing harder would only make things worse. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, remembering that day. Mom had held me while I cried, telling me how dangerous and unstable my father was. How lucky we were to have Roman to protect us. Roman, I spat. Did you know they wanted me to give them $20,000 for a cruise? Dad choked on his coffee. What? That's why they kicked me out. I refused to fund their vacation/gambling spree. Gambling? His expression darkened. Is that still going on? Something in his tone made me look up. What do you mean, still? He set down his mug and walked to his study across the hall. I followed, watching as he unlocked a desk drawer I'd never noticed before. Remember your college fund? He asked, pulling out a thick folder. The one your mother said I'd emptied? My stomach dropped. Yeah, that's why I had to take out loans. He spread documents across his desk. Bank statements, legal papers, letters. I put aside money for you since the day you were born. By the time you were 18, there was enough for 4 years at any state school. But Mom said, your mother and Roman emptied the account 2 months after they got married. When I threatened legal action, they produced paperwork showing I'd authorized the withdrawal. He handed me a document. Look at the signature. I stared at the familiar scrawl. It looked like my father's signature. But it's forged, he said quietly. By the time I proved that, the money was gone. Roman had lost it all on some investment scheme. My hands shook as I set down the paper. How much? $150,000. The room spun. I gripped the edge of his desk. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? His voice was gentle. Back then? I thought about my 18-year-old self, so thoroughly convinced of my mother's version of reality. No, I whispered. I wouldn't have. Dad started gathering the documents, but I put my hand on them. Wait, I want to see everything. He studied my face. Are you sure? There's more. A lot more. I thought about my belongings scattered across my mother's porch, about years of manipulation and lies, about the father I'd pushed away based on carefully crafted fiction. Show me, I said. Show me everything. The documents spread across my father's desk told a story that made my blood run cold. Bank statements, legal notices, letters from attorneys. Each piece added another layer to my mother's web of deception. This can't be right, I muttered, holding up my grandmother's will. Mom told me Grandma left everything to her. Dad shook his head. Your grandmother left the house and half her assets to you, specifically. The other half was split between your mother and me. But Mom sold the house 3 years ago. I felt sick. She said she inherited it. She forged documents showing you'd signed over your rights to the property. Dad pulled out another paper. See? Another fake signature. My hands trembled as I compared the signatures. The house sold for $400,000. And legally, half of that should have been yours. A knock at the front door made us both jump. Dad checked his watch. That'll be Mila. I called her while you were settling in upstairs. Mila burst in like a hurricane, wrapping me in a fierce hug before I could even stand. I brought reinforcements, she announced, holding up a bottle of wine and her laptop. And I'm not leaving until we figure this out. She pulled up a chair, already typing. I'm documenting everything. Dates, amounts, signatures. We're building a case. A case? I looked between her and my father. You mean legally? Damn right. Legally. Mila's fingers flew over the keyboard. Your mother and Roman have been stealing from you for years. It's time they faced consequences. Dad cleared his throat. There's more. He pulled out another folder, this one newer than the others. I've been tracking Roman's activities. He's not just gambling, he's running investment scams. What kind of scams? I asked. Ponzi schemes mainly. Small-time stuff, but it adds up. He convinces people to invest in fake companies, uses new investments to pay off earlier investors, and pockets the difference. Mila whistled. That's federal territory. How do you know all this? I asked my father. He looked uncomfortable. I hired a private investigator last year. After I heard rumors about Roman targeting retirees in the community, my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. I hope you're happy. Roman's devastated by your betrayal. Another buzz. If you apologize now, maybe we can work something out. They're trying to reel you back in, Mila observed, reading over my shoulder. Classic manipulation. I turned off my phone. What they did with my college fund in grandmother's house. Can we prove it? The forged signatures are a start, Dad said. And I've kept records of everything. But we'll need a good lawyer. I know one, Mila said. She specializes in financial fraud. Let me make a call. While Mila stepped out to phone her contact, I studied a photo of my grandmother on Dad's desk. She wanted me to have that house. She told me so many times, but Mom always changed the subject. Your mother was already planning to sell it before your grandmother passed. Dad's voice was heavy. She and Roman had debts even then. Why didn't you stop them? I tried. But you weren't speaking to me, and your mother had legal documents showing your consent. He met my eyes. I'm sorry, Naomi. I should have tried harder. Mila returned, grinning. My friend can see us tomorrow morning at 9. She says we definitely have a case. I don't know if I can afford... I'm covering it, Dad interrupted. Consider it 14 years of missing child support. I started to protest, but Mila cut me off. Let him help. You've been carrying this burden alone long enough. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Roman. Your mother's crying because of you. Fix this, or you'll regret it. Something snapped inside me. Years of guilt manipulation and stolen opportunities crystallized into cold determination. Okay, I said, straightening up. Let's do this. Let's take them down. Mila was already organizing documents into piles. We'll need statements from the bank about the college fund, proof of the house sale, records of any other transactions they made in your name. And Roman's investment schemes, Dad added. If we can prove fraud, that changes everything. I picked up my grandmother's will, running my fingers over her signature. Her real signature. They thought they could get away with this forever, that I'd never find out. They underestimated you, Mila said firmly. And they definitely underestimated your support system. Dad squeezed my shoulder. Whatever happens next, you're not alone anymore. I looked at the evidence scattered across the desk, each document a piece of my stolen past. But more importantly, I looked at my father and Mila, who had my back when I needed them most. Tomorrow at 9, I said. Let's show them what happens when the truth comes out. They did what? Sarah, our lawyer, leaned forward across her desk, eyes widening as she examined the forged signatures. That's just the beginning, Mila said, sliding over more documents. Wait until you see the property records. Sarah's office felt too small for the weight of our evidence. Dad sat beside me, his presence steady as we laid out years of deception for a stranger to dissect. The house sale alone? Sarah made quick calculations on her legal pad. That's grounds for civil fraud. The forged signatures push it into criminal territory. What about Roman's investment schemes? I asked. Sarah's expression turned serious. That's where things get interesting. I have contacts at the SEC who'd be very interested in his activities. She shuffled through the PI's reports. These aren't just casual scams. He's been systematically targeting vulnerable people. Can we use that? Dad asked. Oh, yes. Sarah smiled, but it wasn't friendly. We can use all of it. But first, she turned to me. Are you absolutely sure you want to pursue this? It will get ugly. Your mother stole my inheritance, my college fund, and kicked me out for not funding her husband's gambling. I cut in. I'm sure. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. Roman's having chest pains from the stress you're causing. I hope you're satisfied. I showed it to Sarah, who added it to her growing file. Documentation of ongoing harassment. Perfect. What's our next step? Mila asked. First, we file for an emergency injunction to freeze any assets connected to you, Sarah said, typing rapidly on her computer. Then we prepare formal complaints for both civil and criminal charges. Criminal? My voice cracked. Fraud over certain amounts becomes criminal, Sarah explained. Between the house, the college fund, and Roman's schemes, we're well over those thresholds. A knock at the office door interrupted us. Sarah's assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She handed Sarah a tablet. Sarah's eyebrows shot up as she read. Well, well. Seems Roman's been busy this morning. He just tried to transfer a large sum to an offshore account. How large? Dad asked. $300,000. Sarah looked up. Money that matches the timeline of your house sale. My stomach lurched. He still has my money? Had, Sarah corrected, already dialing her phone. My contact at the SEC can freeze that transfer right now. She spoke rapidly into the phone, using terms I barely understood. Mila squeezed my hand. We got them. There's something else you should know, Dad said quietly. I found more relatives Roman scammed. They're willing to testify. Sarah ended her call, triumphant. Transfer blocked, and with multiple victims coming forward. She started writing rapidly. We can file a class action suit alongside your personal claims. What about Mom? I asked. She'll say Roman handled everything, that she didn't know. The forgeries were in her handwriting, Sarah interrupted. And as your legal guardian when some of these transactions occurred, she's equally liable. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Roman. Your mother's in the hospital because of you. Hope you can live with yourself. Sarah read the message and smiled. They're getting desperate. Good. The hospital thing is a lie, Mila said, checking her phone. Your mom just posted a poolside selfie on Instagram. Time-stamped 10 minutes ago. Sarah gathered the documents into neat piles. Here's what happens next. I file these papers today. They'll be served tomorrow. Once they realize we have evidence of criminal fraud, they'll probably try to negotiate. And if they don't, I asked, then we take them to court, where I destroy them. Sarah's confidence was contagious. Either way, you're getting justice. Dad cleared his throat. What about the other victims? Roman's investors? Once the SEC gets involved, they'll handle the criminal side. Our focus is getting Naomi's money back and making sure they can't hurt anyone else. As we left Sarah's office, my phone buzzed with a final text from my mother. Whatever you're planning, remember who raised you. Remember everything we did for you. I showed it to Dad, who read it and sighed. She raised you to be strong, independent, and honest. Everything she's not. Mila linked her arm through mine as we walked to our cars. Tomorrow's going to be rough. You ready? I thought about my mother's fake tears, Roman's threats, the years of manipulation and theft. I thought about my grandmother's house, sold out from under me, and my college fund, gambled away by a man who saw me as nothing but a cash machine. Ready? I looked at my father, who had kept fighting for me even when I pushed him away. At Mila, who dropped everything to help me fight back. At the stack of papers in my hand that would finally bring truth to light. I've never been more ready in my life. The process server delivered the papers at exactly 9 a.m. I watched from Mila's car across the street as my mother opened the door, her face shifting from confusion to shock as she read the first page. $10 says she calls within 5 minutes, Mila said, handing me a coffee. It took 3. My phone lit up with my mother's number. Put it on speaker, Mila whispered. I answered. Hello, Mom. What is this? Her voice trembled with rage. Fraud charges? Criminal complaints? Have you lost your mind? I found out about Grandma's house, I said calmly. And my college fund. And Roman's investment schemes. Those are lies. Your father put you up to this, didn't he? He's always been jealous of what Roman and I have. The SEC froze Roman's offshore transfer yesterday, I cut in. $300,000. Care to explain where that came from? Silence. Then, Roman, get in here. I heard shuffling, muffled voices. Roman's gruff tone came through. Listen here, you ungrateful little... No, you listen, I interrupted. I have proof of everything. The forged signatures, the stolen inheritance, the Ponzi schemes. Your victims are coming forward. Victims? My mother scoffed. What victims? Mrs. Peterson from church, I said. The Williamses down the street. That retired teacher Roman convinced to invest her pension. Should I go on? More silence. Then Roman's voice, quieter now. What do you want? My money back. All of it. Plus interest. We don't have it, my mother said quickly. We can't possibly... The house in Palm Springs, Roman muttered. We could sell it. That's my house, Mom shrieked. Actually, I said, that house was bought with my inheritance money, so technically, it's mine. You bitch, Mom spat. After everything we did for you? Save it, I cut in. My lawyer will contact yours with terms. Either you agree, or we go to court. And trust me, you don't want this going public. You wouldn't, Mom whispered. You wouldn't do that to your own mother. My own mother wouldn't have stolen from me. My voice cracked slightly. My own mother wouldn't have lied about my father, forged my signature, or kicked me out for not funding her husband's gambling habit. I'm calling my lawyer, Roman announced. Good idea, I said. Have them check your email. The SEC will be contacting you shortly. I hung up as Roman started cursing. Mila high-fived me. That was badass, she said. How are you feeling? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. You've made a terrible mistake. Roman has friends in high places. Another text followed. Don't come crying to me when this blows up in your face. Friends in high places? Mila read over my shoulder. Like those investors he scammed? My phone rang again. Sarah this time. Roman's lawyer just called, she said without preamble. They want to meet. Already? Mila raised her eyebrows. The SEC involvement spooked them, Sarah explained. How soon can you get to my office? An hour later, I sat across from my mother and Roman in Sarah's conference room. Mom had been crying. Her mascara was smeared, but Roman just looked angry. Here's the deal, Sarah laid out papers. You sign over the Palm Springs house. You repay the college fund with interest. And you provide a complete list of everyone Roman scammed. That's ridiculous, Roman's lawyer protested. My client admits no wrongdoing. Save it, Sarah cut in. I have documented evidence of at least 12 fraudulent investment schemes. Either work with us or explain it to a federal judge. My mother reached for my hand across the table. I pulled back. Sweetie, please, she pleaded. We can work this out as a family. Family? I stood up. You stopped being family when you chose money over me, when you lied about Dad, when you kicked me out instead of admitting what you'd done. Sign the papers, Roman muttered to my mother. We don't have a choice. Mom's hand shook as she signed. Roman followed suit, not meeting anyone's eyes. One more thing, Sarah said. You both agree to no contact with Naomi unless she initiates it. You can't do that, Mom cried. She's my daughter. I'm not your ATM anymore, I said quietly. I'm not your victim either. I'm just someone you used to know. As they left, Roman turned back. You'll regret this, he growled. No, I said, watching my mother's shoulders shake with sobs. I already regret not doing it sooner. But as the door closed behind them, I couldn't help wondering what Roman's threat might mean. The first brick came through my car window 3 days after the settlement. I was leaving work when I found my windshield shattered, a note wrapped around the brick. This is just the beginning. It's Roman, Dad said when I called him, hands shaking. Has to be. The police officer taking my statement looked bored. Any proof it was your stepfather? Just the timing, I admitted. And the threat he made after our settlement meeting. Not much we can do without evidence, he said, scribbling in his notebook. Get some security cameras. Mila helped me install them that weekend. You should stay with your dad until this blows over. I'm not hiding, I said, testing the camera angle. Besides, the SEC interview is tomorrow. Roman has bigger problems than me now. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. Back off or the next brick won't miss you. I showed Mila, who immediately called Sarah. Keep everything, Sarah instructed. Screenshots, the brick, the note. We'll add witness intimidation to the charges. That night I couldn't sleep. Every car passing my apartment made me jump. Around midnight, my phone lit up with my mother's number. Hello? Roman's gone, she sobbed. He took everything. The accounts are empty. Even my jewelry is missing. I sat up. What? He must have known the SEC was closing in. I woke up, and he was just gone. Her voice cracked. I have nothing left. Call the police, I said. I can't. He'll hurt me. He knows people, Naomi. Dangerous people. Mom, please, she whispered. I need help. Can I come over? I hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea. I'm your mother, she cried. After everything, you'd leave me alone with him out there? The guilt was familiar, tugging at my heart. But something felt wrong. Stay with Aunt Linda, I suggested. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up and immediately called Dad. Don't let her in if she shows up, he said firmly. It's a trap. Roman's trying to get to you through her. You think she's helping him? I think she's desperate, and he's manipulative. Bad combination. A knock at my door made me freeze. Someone's here. Call the police, Dad said. Now. Another knock, harder. Naomi, baby, please. I'm scared. My mother's voice, trembling. I crept to the door and looked through the peephole. She was alone. Mascara streaked down her face. Go away, Mom, I called. I'm calling the police. Don't, she pleaded. Roman will kill me if... A shadow moved behind her. My blood ran cold as I recognized Roman's bulky frame in the dim hallway light. I dialed 911 as quietly as possible. Emergency at 1242 Oak Street Apartments. My stepfather, who threatened me, is trying to break in. Mom was still pleading when the first bang hit my door. Roman's voice boomed, Open up, you little bitch! Police are on their way, the dispatcher said. Stay on the line. Another bang. The door frame cracked. I ran to my bedroom, grabbing the baseball bat Mila had insisted I keep nearby. My hands shook as I heard wood splintering. They're breaking in, I whispered to the dispatcher. Sirens wailed in the distance. Running footsteps in my living room. Where are you? Roman bellowed. Think you can ruin me? Take everything I built? You stole from me, I shouted back, gripping the bat tighter. You're a fraud and a thief. Roman, please. My mother's voice wavered. Let's just go. Shut up, he roared. This is your fault too. You made me include her in our lives. The bedroom door burst open. Roman filled the frame, face purple with rage. Behind him, my mother cowered, tears streaming. I swung the bat. Roman dodged, lunging forward. We crashed into my dresser as police sirens screamed into the parking lot. Freeze! Police! Flashlights blazed through my apartment. Roman's weight disappeared as officers yanked him back. She attacked me, he shouted as they cuffed him. She's crazy. My mother tried to run, but another officer caught her arm. Ma'am, you're under arrest for breaking and entering. Naomi, please, she begged as they led her away. Tell them I was trying to help. I sat on my bed, shaking, as paramedics checked me for injuries. Dad arrived moments later, face white with worry. I should have listened when you said it was a trap, I told him. He hugged me tight. You did listen. You stayed safe. That's what matters. Through my window, I watched police cars pull away with my mother and Roman. Their betrayal still hurt, but something else was stronger now. Relief. And underneath that, a fierce determination. They'd tried to break me. They'd failed. Tomorrow, I'd tell the SEC everything. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as I waited to testify. My mother sat at one end with her lawyer, refusing to look at me. Roman wasn't here. He'd been denied bail after the break-in incident. Remember, Sarah whispered, just tell the truth. Let the evidence speak for itself. The SEC investigator, Agent Torres, had spent weeks building the case. Now, watching other victims file into the courtroom, I realized how far Roman's schemes had reached. Mrs. Peterson spotted me and hurried over. Naomi, dear, I wanted to thank you. If you hadn't come forward, all rise. Inside, the judge's presence commanded silence. I took my seat beside Sarah, watching my mother's shoulders shake with carefully timed sobs. Your Honor, the prosecutor began, will prove that Roman Rogers, with the assistance of his wife Heidi, orchestrated a complex fraud scheme targeting multiple victims, including his own stepdaughter. My mother's lawyer stood. My client was herself a victim of her husband's deceptions, Your Honor. She had no knowledge. The evidence suggests otherwise, Sarah interrupted, standing. We have documented proof of Mrs. Rogers forging signatures, facilitating fraudulent property transfers, and actively participating in the deception. Ms. Harding, the judge called, please take the stand. Walking past my mother felt like crossing a battlefield. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. After I was sworn in, The prosecutor approached. Ms. Harding, please tell us about your grandmother's house. I described finding the will, the forged signatures, the stolen inheritance. With each detail, my voice grew stronger. And the college fund? They took it when I was 18, used it to fund Roman's gambling and fake investment schemes. Objection, my mother's lawyer called. Speculation. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. I detailed every manipulation, every theft, every lie. The prosecutor displayed bank statements, forged documents, threatening texts. My mother's face grew paler with each piece of evidence. During cross-examination, her lawyer tried to paint me as ungrateful, manipulative, money-hungry. Isn't it true you lived rent-free in their home, while working as their unpaid housekeeper and personal ATM? Yes. And isn't it true your mother supported you through difficult times? She supported Roman's lifestyle with my stolen inheritance. The lawyer changed tactics. You're angry about your parents' divorce. This is revenge. This is justice, I cut in. For me and everyone else they stole from. Mrs. Peterson testified next, describing how Roman had taken her life savings. Others followed, retired teachers, elderly neighbors, even a former priest. Each story revealed another layer of deception. Finally, Agent Torres presented the SEC's findings. Mr. Rogers operated multiple Ponzi schemes, stealing approximately $2 million from 37 victims. Mrs. Rogers assisted by providing legitimate bank accounts and forging documents. My mother broke down. Roman made me do it. He threatened me. Mrs. Rogers, the judge warned, you'll have your turn to speak. But when that turn came, her story crumbled under questioning. The prosecutor produced emails showing her active participation, bank records proving she'd spent the stolen money on luxury items. Your Honor, Sarah stood for closing arguments. The evidence is clear. This wasn't just fraud. It was a systematic betrayal of trust. They stole from family, friends, vulnerable members of their community. They threatened victims who discovered the truth. They showed no remorse until caught. The judge took only 30 minutes to decide. Heidi Rogers, this court finds you guilty of multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. You'll serve 5 years in federal prison and make full restitution to your victims. My mother collapsed in tears. Real ones this time. Additionally, regarding Roman Rogers, who will be sentenced separately for his crimes, this court orders all assets frozen and transferred to a victim restitution fund. Outside the courtroom, Mila hugged me tight. It's over. Not quite, Sarah said. Roman's sentencing is next week, but with the break-in charges added to the fraud conviction, he'll be away for a long time, Dad finished. A commotion drew our attention. Officers were leading my mother away. She turned back, mascara streaking her face. Naomi, please, don't let them take me. I watched her disappear around the corner, remembering all the times she'd manipulated my emotions, used my love against me. You okay? Dad asked softly. Yeah, I said, surprised to find it was true. I really am. Mrs. Peterson touched my arm. You did the right thing, dear. We all got justice because of you. Walking out of the courthouse into bright sunlight, I felt lighter. The truth hadn't just set me free, it had protected others from becoming victims. But as Sarah reminded me, one chapter remained, Roman's sentencing. And knowing him, he wouldn't go down without a fight. Roman's sentencing hearing felt different from my mother's. The courtroom was packed with victims, reporters, even federal agents. Roman sat in his orange jumpsuit, glaring at everyone who dared meet his eyes. All rise. The same judge presided, but today she looked grimmer. She'd reviewed victim impact statements all week, including mine. Before we proceed, she announced, Mr. Rogers has requested to address the court. Roman stood, chains rattling. Your Honor, I've made mistakes. I admit that. But everything I did was for my family, for my wife, For my stepdaughter. I gripped Dad's hand as Roman turned to face me. Naomi, I tried to give you everything. A home, security, a future. Yes, I took your inheritance, your college fund, but I was investing it for you. For us. If you just trusted me. Objection, Sarah stood. The defendant is attempting to justify his crimes. Sustained. The judge's voice hardened. Mr. Rogers, this court has evidence of you threatening Ms. Harding with violence, of breaking into her home, of stealing from elderly victims who trusted you. Do not insult us by claiming noble intentions. Roman's face darkened. Those people were stupid. They threw their money at me because they were greedy. And you, he pointed at me, you ungrateful little... Remove the defendant, the judge ordered. As officers grabbed Roman's arms, he shouted, I know people. This isn't over. You'll never be safe. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Mr. Rogers, you've just added witness intimidation to your charges. I've heard enough. She shuffled her papers, then looked directly at Roman. This court sentences you to 25 years in federal prison. Additionally, you are ordered to make full restitution to all victims, and upon release, you are permanently barred from any financial industry employment or investment activities. The courtroom erupted in applause. Mrs. Peterson hugged me, crying. Other victims shook Dad's hand, thanking us for coming forward. Outside, reporters swarmed with questions about the case. Sarah handled them while Dad led me to his car. Wait, a voice called. A man in a suit approached, showing FBI credentials. Ms. Harding, those people Roman claimed to know, we'd like to talk to you about them. 2 hours later, I sat in an FBI office, describing every shady character who'd visited our house over the years, every mysterious phone call, every suspicious transaction I'd glimpsed. This helps immensely, the agent said. We've been building cases against several of these individuals. Your testimony could help shut down their entire network. Will I need to testify again? Probably not. Most will plea bargain once they know what we have. He smiled. You've done more good than you know. Leaving the FBI office, I found Mila waiting with Dad. Ready for part 2? She asked. Part 2? She grinned. The Palm Springs house. It's officially yours now. Time to decide what to do with it. The house keys felt heavy in my hand as we toured the property. Everything screamed excess. Marble counters, crystal chandeliers, a pool that could host Olympic trials. We could sell it, Dad suggested. Add the money to the victim restitution fund. I walked through rooms filled with memories of lies and manipulation. Then I remembered Mrs. Peterson's tears. The retired teacher's lost pension. All the lives Roman and my mother had destroyed. No, I said. I have a better idea. 1 week later, I stood in the converted living room watching Mrs. Peterson cut a ribbon. I declare the New Beginnings Senior Center officially open. Applause filled the room. The house that Greed built had become a community center for elderly fraud victims, offering counseling, financial education, and support groups. It's perfect, Mila whispered, using their luxury house to help their victims. That's karma. Dad squeezed my shoulder. Your grandmother would be proud. A letter had arrived that morning from my mother. I hadn't opened it yet. Maybe I never would. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Mrs. Peterson was giving a tour, showing off the library we'd created from Roman's home office. Here, we'll teach seniors how to spot investment scams, how to protect themselves, and how to fight back, I added. The room filled with determined nods. These weren't victims anymore. They were survivors, warriors, just like me. Ready to go home? Dad asked. I looked around at my new family, not bound by blood, but by something stronger, by truth, by justice, by the courage to stand up and say, no more. I am home, I said, right where I belong. The setting sun painted the room gold through windows that once witnessed darkness. But darkness doesn't last forever. Not when you find the strength to light your own way,